Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of The Probe. It's your election headquarters edition made possible by Petrol Sol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol is always a delightful experience. Tonight we will conduct a post-mortem of the NPP's parliamentary primaries in constituencies with sitting MPs. It was definitely a fierce battle that has seen as many as 28 sitting MPs losing their hold on what they once called their seat. We'll get to unpack all the issues before, during and after the parliamentary primaries and the major hurdles that candidates had to cross to get here. Don't forget, the bigger contest will be on December 7, or rather is it November 7, depending on how much work goes into the realization of the EC's proposed reforms, but that's for another day. Tonight we'll probe how the mighty have fallen and how some of the mighty nearly fell but stood firm. That's all on the show tonight, and we'll get to go through all the details. If you missed it yesterday, this is a recap show for you. We are live on the Joy News channel on Joy 99.7 FM, on radio, or also on myjoyonline.com. We are on Facebook, DSTV channel 421, GoTV is 125. And the number of qualified aspirants that went into the contest yesterday, 318. Unopposed, 33. The number of cases in court is just one so far from what we're hearing. Also disqualified aspirants, 17 of them were disqualified. Those who stepped down, we had 4 of them on hold. We're told about 3, but it appears that it's about 4. We know about Ikuapem South, we know about Mampong, we know about Binduri, and we're also hearing about Aguna West. We'll get into the details of that. And the candidates that were vetted is 376. So that's the number that went into the contest yesterday. Incumbent MP constituency, we had Sarah Joasafo. We know about the situation in Dom Kwabinya. Many of you are not surprised about that situation. Ablekuma North, Sheila Battles is out. Amasaman, we had Ekuya Owuswe Efrifa Mensa also out. In Tema Central, Eves Hansen Norte is out of the contest. So one of the casualties, we have Moses Enim Trobu, Tina Gifty na Ayele Mensa Wejagbawe. So this is the Greater Accra contest. This is what we are looking at in terms of the incumbent casualties. So let's go to the Ashanti region now. Atwima Mponua, that's what we call it. Isaac Kwame Esiama is out. Atwima Wabieja South, Emmanuel Eje Amre is out. Akwesi Dakwa Boateng Bosome Freho out of the contest. Akwesi Dako Boateng in Drabing, he lost. George Kwabena Obintechi Mansum Kwanta out. That's still in the Ashanti region. We have Emmanuel Akwesi Jemfi Odotobri in Team Augustine Collins, Offensu North, one that many are surprised about. And the biggest one many are so surprised about when it comes to the Ashanti region, Eugene Boakye Entry Subing, one of the men that led Ken Must Go contest in Parliament. He's out. And now he will not contest or, lead Subing again. We have a lawyer, Obri Boahing, taking over in Subing. Let's head to the Eastern region now. Osei John Frempong Abrim. Gifty Chumampo for Ebuakwa North out. Suhum Kwejua Sante is out. Kofi Ochria Jekum Fantiakwa South. Kwabena Amankwe Siama Fantiakwa North. So North and South, they've all booted out their MPs. We go to the Eastern region. We're still in the Eastern region. We go on. Yeah, let's go on. Now we have the Central region, Elvis Morris Donko, Abura Asebu Kwaman Kese out. Bright Rekubrobe, unfortunately, Himan Lower Denchua, the Deputy Employment, Labour and Relations Minister. Many of us, our hearts are broken. Bright Rekubrobe is out. He's been booted out. In the Northern region, Jabba John Benham Zabzugu is out. In the Western region, Joseph Kujo, another surprising one. Efia. We also have Samuel Erickson Abaka Shama, also out. We head to another region. Okay, so these are the female faces. Unfortunately, we're hoping that we could get a number of females staying, but incumbent MPs who've lost. These are the faces. Wale, we have our gender minister out. Gifty Chumampofo, Amapuma Boateng Drabing, Sheila Battles, my MP, Ablekuma North out. Sarah Joasafo, many not surprised about that. Dom Kwabinya out. So these are the faces. And Tina Gifty na Ayele Mensa, Deputy Health Minister, she's out. She's been replaced by Jerry Ahmed in the Wejagbawe constituency. So these are the faces. Now in Dom Kwabinya, at least you know them. We go on. Michael Okwe is now going, Okwe Jr. And Dr. Gideon Bwaku is joining us via Zoom. We'll get details from him shortly, how he did it. And ousted Dr. Frida Prempe, Sanitation Minister. She replaced Cecilia Abinadapa. We have in Subing, so this is what it looks like. We've taken over Kofi Obri Yeboah. Meaning we do not even know so much. Is booted out. Eugene Boakye Entry. We've been talking about that. So yeah, we'll just go through the slides. Now another crack contest. Asensu Boakye he was able to stay in spite of all the challenges and the hurdles he faced. He's been able to retain that seat, and he will be facing that contest in December. Bantama. Now, which one are we going next to? Yeah, let's go. We go to Asante Achim Central. Well, this was a huge one also. Kwame Enyumedu fought that battle and won against Kofi Ofosun Kansa and then Nana Ajiman Amponsa. Which other one? The other crack contest, Adansia Sokwa, KT Hammond. He was able to retain that. He beat Samuel Dakwa Benefo. He told him he was going to beat him in that contest. Definitely did, in spite of all the issues that came up. Kwandi Apia Kubi, one other contest in Asante Achim North that many thought he would be beaten by Kwesi Kwarteng Frimpong. But unfortunately, it's just 12 votes that he got there. So it doesn't look like it was a contest at all for Andy Apia Kubi in Asante Achim North. Which other one can we look at? We go on to Ayawaso Central. This was another one that Isikwe was hoping that Abo Moses would beat the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Korte, but that did not happen. Look at in fact, the gap was not too wide, 594,326, but of course, it's wide in such a contest, definitely wide. So that'll be all in terms of the crack contest, how the mighty have fallen, the near falling mighty, amongst others. But let me go to Zoom right now, and then I'll introduce my guest also to you. Of course, I'll be taking inputs from Dr. Boakye, Director of Electoral Services, Electoral Commission. He will join us via phone. We'll touch base with Henry Nana Boakye, National Organizer of the NPP, currently in Kumasi for obvious reasons, because they are meeting the Ashanti Traditional Council tomorrow. We'll also have Dr. Rashid Draman, Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, joining us via Zoom, and take inputs for Dr. Asa Sante. He's a Senior Political Science Lecturer at University of Ghana. He'll give us details. And in the studios tonight, we are privileged to have join us the President, Women in Politics Forum, Abuja, Nigeria, Ebere Ifendu. She's in the studios with us. She came to monitor this particular contest and thankfully will join us with what she found. Welcome to the studios. Thank you so much for having us. We also have Evans Nimako, Director of Elections of the NPP, accompanying her. He's in the studios with us. Evans, what a contest has been. Are you surprised at any?
This is the victory for the New Patriotic Party.
Okay, well, we'll get into it shortly. But let me stay on Zoom and find out if Dr. Gideon Boakye joins us via Zoom. We understand he will be jetting out of the country shortly, so we'll touch base with him. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Gideon Boakye. Congratulations in order, I guess. You have to unmute.
Sorry about that. Good evening. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I should be asking you how you're doing a day after the victory. How are you feeling?
I'm doing so well. I just got to Accra and to meet the family, and it's all joy at home, and I'm happy.
What did the trick? Is it the Baumia factor? What exactly happened? How did you beat Frida Prempeh?
Well, I think first of all is by the grace of God, the favor of God and the grace of God were with me, and then when it comes to my personal aspects, I think I work hard. I've endeared myself to the delegates and the constituency for quite a long time. Turn on off is.
Oh dear. We have a freeze in that connection to Dr. Gideon Boakye. But we'll try again and reconnect with Dr. Gideon Boakye. And then, of course, we'll be hearing from Sylvester Mensah as well on this. But let me take a quick break here on the probe. We'll return with more. Please do stay with me. I am Emefa Apau, and this is the probe. Please do stay. And this is your election headquarters, made possible by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol is always a delightful experience, and it's the postmortem of the NPP Parliamentary Primaries that was held yesterday across the country in terms of areas where they have sitting MPs, and we're talking about the casualties. We've been hearing from one of the men that has already beaten a mighty one in Tano North, Dr. Gideon Boakye. We'll get back to him shortly via Zoom. But let me bring in Dr. Boakye, who is Director of Electoral Services for the Electoral Commission, monitoring or supervising that particular election for the NPP yesterday. Dr. Boakye, thank you so much for joining us here on the probe. So it's I would want to find out, at least in terms of supervision of this particular contest. How would you describe it?
Thank you, Anita. Good evening, my sister, and good evening to our listeners and viewers. When it comes to elections at this the party conduct the election under the supervision of the Electoral Commission. So we were tasked to supervise 104 constituency elections, and by the grace of God, we successfully completed 103 with a session of END where the final part was disrupted.
So the Yendi, it's good that you mentioned the issue about Yendi. What really happened when it comes to the Yendi situation, Dr. Srebo?
According to our officers, they had finished sorting out. They have stacked them according to their candidates. So they were counting the first candidate ballot when some people rise into the seat and they started destroying the ballot papers.
So is it the case that there was no declaration at the end of the day when it comes to the Yendi votes?
Yes, so the feedback from the region is that we were not able to declare the results there.
But they do not know who actually won. So the counting process did not conclude for us to know who actually won for declaration to be done.
Exactly, so as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned.
So as it stands now, no candidate can say they won that election in Yendi.
From the Electoral Commission point of view, we did not complete the process.
So what will happen then after this?
It is left like I said, the party is conducting and we are supervising. So the party will have to take it.
Okay. But generally, though, apart from the Yendi situation, do you have cause for concern when it comes to your supervision of the other constituencies?
I think all the other places were smoothly run. And we had all the support from the party and the state delegates and the security services. So we didn't have any difficulty in declaring the results of the others.
So on a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, how would you say in terms of your supervision and the conduct by the NPP itself, how would you rate yesterday's elections, you'd say?
If necessary, complete one, the negative is 1 over 104. So technically, you are more than 99% correct. So I think we are successful by more than 99%.
Okay. Well, that's a good one, and you can hear Evans Nimako there giggling in the studios about that ratings that you've given in the NPP. We're grateful for your time, Dr. T Boakye, for that assessment of yesterday's elections, and that's the Director of Electoral Services for the Electoral Commission, giving us their view on yesterday's elections. Dr. Gideon Boakye will conclude with us via Zoom. Dr. Gideon Boakye, I'm hoping we have a better connection to you now. You were telling me about what did the trick in terms of your beating Frida Prempeh in Tano North.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, I'm okay now. Hello?
Okay, Dr. Boakye, it appears that the victory is affecting the network connection there, and the network is pretty happy about your win as well. But we'll try and then establish contact with you shortly. But let me come into the studios, and I would want to hear from Ebere Fendu, especially in terms of your monitoring of the situation. We're really grateful that you're here with us in the studios. You've been around. Let's talk about where you've been and what you noticed.
Okay, I was in Ashanti, Kumasi, right?
Okay, it was your first in Kumasi?
Yeah, my first in Kumasi, yes.
Okay.
And we visited about 5 thereabouts, stations for the elections, and it was orderly. And what got me attracted to the whole thing was we saw that the Electoral Commission was fully involved with the primaries. We saw that they used the Electoral Commission polling, voting things. They had the ballot box and everything. And then there was enough security. It was done orderly. For me, I had conversations with some of the aspirants that we met there, and they were all, happy with the process. And in politics and in electoral process, nomination of candidates is very important. So you are either winning or losing from the point of nomination. You nominate the wrong candidate, it means that the party will lose that seat. And then if there is rancor, there's also a problem. It might lead to people, voting, another direction. But when the nomination process is so clear that if you win, you will know that truly you actually won that election. And if you lose, you will also know that you lost. that will give you, that feeling of I did my best. Either my people supported me or they didn't support me. It means at that time, they didn't see you as the right candidate. And that will also make you work for the party. So it's not now going to be about you. But when you feel cheated, and so I'm so impressed with the process. And like I said, we're going to take this back to Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, after primaries like this, then there will be litigations. So I'm surprised that in Ghana, such things don't happen here. Most people actually lost their seats through the judicial process. And it's because of, nomination process, lack of internal party democracy. For me, I saw internal party democracy work. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm very much impressed. So I'm happy that I'm in Ghana to witness this. And I'm taking back so much. We are about also having a kind of amendment of our electoral laws and then the constitution. So my recommendation would be like a report of my observation here in Ghana. So some of the things that we have seen, and these are the things that, I can tell you is a positive thing in politics. We want to also take it back. So it's going to form my recommendation because we are looking at how are we going to reduce the influence of the judiciary in elections. And then I'll give you an instance. In Nigeria, a state in one of our states, Plateau State, the governor there is now a governor, like an orphan governor, without a single member of parliament in his state, both at the national and at the state level, because we run a federation. So his case is a pathetic situation. They won elections, but because of internal democracy, people challenged it. And then the Supreme Court, for the legislators, it ended at the Court of Appeal. They were all removed. The governor was lucky his case went to Supreme Court and they returned him. So he is an orphan governor. You are going to be at the mercy of an opposition legislature, and you know what that means. So I think it's very important for us to get things done at the nomination period. Okay. So I'm very excited. I'm happy with my experience.
But some would say maybe you've been to the party stronghold, at least, is the Ashanti region that you were in. Even though it was an internal contest, maybe from where you were taken to or where you went to, everything may have been that orderly. Have you checked on the other areas, whether indeed that meets the satisfaction and what you've been talking about?
Yes, because I've also spoken to some friends I have in Ghana here, and from the reports from their constituency, And again, let me even say something. It was a very fierce contest. Yes. Very fierce contest. So even when you look at it as, Kumasi is the party's stronghold, I saw the aspirants, they were tensed. No, they were really not sure of winning. So the delegates had the power to determine who will go for them. Yeah. And so I don't think it's about, the stronghold of the party. It's about organization. And I think this is not just about what played out yesterday. It must have been a process that was put in place to get to this point.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll get into the issues about vote buying and whether your monitoring picked up any of these happening in the areas that you went to. But Evans Nimako, I'm sure at this point is itching to coming on this. At least there's only one case that we are told was in court, but the issues about the constituencies that were on hold. Maybe you can clarify that for us, then we can look at what happened yesterday.
Well, thank you for having me, and good evening to viewers. I think for us as New Patriotic Party, we are happy with the outcome, at least. And for viewers, we've heard from Dr. T Boakye from the Electoral Commission. We've also heard from Barrister Iberi, a foreigner who went to Kumasi. If there was going to be any heated contestation, it was going to be in our stronghold. And as she said, this must be a process that really worked. We started this exercise when nomination was open. Everything has been very transparent. Aspirants will tell you that they were given all that they needed to have from the party's point of view. Registers were given. Delegates were assured that they were in there. Registers were verified by the constituency. We collaborated very well with the Electoral Commission and the Ghana Police Service. So we were not surprised with the outcome. But, as human as we are, there will be one or two casualties. So the party.
As 28 casualties.
No, I'm saying that in terms of the conduct of the exercise, you are mentioning other issues. In terms of people, certain MPs who could not make it at this stage, it's unfortunate, but this is New Patriotic Party, a very organized internal exercise. They are all pleased with the outcome. I've not, as I sit, heard from any one of the candidates who was not successful complaining about the whole conduct. So I am happy and confident that we are going to put ourselves together and work hard towards getting our presidential candidate, His Excellency Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, winning December 7 presidential elections, as well as New Patriotic Party winning majority of the seats in Parliament in order to make government business in the House very successful, not to have the kind of parliament we have now. And so we will continue to work together. This is the evidence of winning the major elections ahead of us. We are very focused. We know we have numbers across constituencies. And I want at this point to say that before the elections, the national chairman issued a goodwill message to the parliamentary candidates and the party at large. The General Secretary issued protocols to party rank and file, both candidate and delegates. And the collaboration between the party and the EC worked very well. You, the media, covered almost every constituency that we had this exercise. And we are all seeing how it turned out. And it is because it is New Patriotic Party that is organizing it. And so maybe in future you will see other parties, maybe NDC, they won't give you any better story to tell.
But guidelines that we're giving ahead of the election, no campaign, no campaigning on campaign day, issues about vote buying, you were not really clear on that. But at least our reports, at least you mentioned that the media was everywhere. Our reports about camping, at least it came up, there were allegations of camping on that day, especially in Ablekuma West, for instance, and the vote buying issues that came up. Is the party concerned?
Well, I mean, at this point, I'll crave your indulgence. You shouldn't hear one side of the story and conclude. The definition of Political Party Act is very clear on it. Treating is not. It's illegal. And so if it happened, it must be reported. I'm aware of one case where an MMDC or an MC who had been nominated felt that having giving some support to delegates, he didn't get what he wanted and was chasing after them. And then I'm aware also that the OSP is after him. So that's about it. In all constituencies that we had this exercise, there were regional executives and national executives, as well as the constituency elections committee. At the end of exercise like this, they're expected by the National Executive Committee to submit official reports. And these reports are collaborated by what we get from the EC and the Ghana Police Service.
Okay.
And so the NEC will wait to receive reports from these bodies, and then whatever action needs to be undertaken by leadership will be taken. So
one such constituency will be Yendi. We'll be getting to it and what action. You heard the EC that the party would have to take that action. So Evans, we'll come to you on that. But let me go on Zoom. And we've been talking about some casualties. 28 of them at least have fallen. They are not going back to Parliament. And that's an issue of concern for at least political watchers in terms of what will happen. And we know some of them who are not contesting again. At least they didn't contest again. And what kind of parliament will the 9th parliament be is one of the issues of concern. Let me bring in Dr. Rashid Draman on this. But I'm told that we have a better connection to Dr. Gideon Boakye. Maybe we'll try one last time and see if we can get that victory message from Dr. Gideon Boakye. Then I'll come to you, Dr. Rashid Draman. Dr. Gideon Boakye, I bet we have a better connection to you. I was asking if it was the Bawumia factor that did the trick for you.
No, I can't say that. Like I said, I went into the elections very well prepared, and I worked for it. I had a very solid team also at the constituency who were even working for me at the time that I was not around because of working in Accra. But I must say that, yes, the grace of God was with me, but this is something I've also worked on very hardly by myself, by my team, and all those who have me. It will interest you to know that I went into this contest And about the 85 campaign team members I had, all of them were delegates who were moving crisscrossing the constituency. And I had a team of dedicated young people who were ready, battle ready to cause a change in Tanonof because they felt there needed to be a change in the NPP parliamentary elections in the constituency. So it's not just by myself, but I must say, I really, really salute the gallant young people and elders of the constituency who believed in me, had trust in me, loved me, had confidence in me, and showed commitment towards this good cause. So it has nothing to do with the office I work with. In any case, the current MP I was seated is the cabinet minister. So if there is anything, she's the one who should have leveraged such advantages. But I think it's by hard work. We worked so hard and we were able to secure the victory.
Has Frida reached out to you already? And the concern now is going forward, how you're both going to work together to retain that seat for your party.
She has not reached out to me yet, but I'm sure.
But have you reached out?
I haven't done so also. I left the constituency this morning and came to Accra this evening. I got to Accra in an hour time. And I'm sure if they haven't reached out to me today, it's so much of a problem. Let's give ourselves some time and some latitude to take some respite. So I'm sure in the coming days, both of us will speak. Either I reach out to her first or she reaches out to me. But whichever way it is, I understand that beyond the competition, there ought to be cooperation. And we have to come together to work hard to increase the votes in the constituency. And more importantly.
Okay. All right, I think that'll be all for Dr. Gideon Boakye. At least he's actually mentioned at least he's going to reach out to Frida Prempeh amongst others. We've also tried reaching out to her, but it's been difficult so far. But Dr. Rashid Dramani, you're on Zoom with us as well. So we've been talking about the names. I'm sure already we've compiled the list. We got 28 at the last count, including Joa Safo, we have Eugene Boakye, Tina Mensah, a number of them that have fallen already. And we have some new entrants coming in. You've been looking at the list and the old guards also that did not contest. Already looking ahead into the 9th Parliament, are you happy with how it's going to look like in terms of the dynamics and how everything is going to play out in the 9th Parliament?
I'm not happy. I think going into the 9th Parliament, we have a struggle in terms of stabilizing the Parliament. And that struggle is the issue of experience and continuity versus inclusion. If you add those who lost yesterday to the already tall list, particularly tall in terms of longevity in Parliament and experience of those who decided not to run, the likes of Honorable Chambers and his group. You add that to what we saw yesterday, we have a serious problem on our hands. On the one hand, we want to give a resolution. We want to make sure that different voices take part in our democratic process, take part in Parliament. At the same time, you want to make sure that you don't sacrifice experience and longevity in Parliament for just simply the issue of inclusion, particularly in our republic where not many people get prepared before we come to Parliament. And today, I think we all agree the kind of challenges that our country faces, as well as the nature of democracy today, the nature of the global issues that people in leadership have to deal with. That is not for everyone. We need people who are prepared. So come January 2025, I think the 9th Parliament is going to be the night of a lot of experienced hands. And some may say, well, we're going to have fresh minds coming in. But let me state this. I mean, we need fresh minds, or we need fresh prepared minds. Otherwise, you are going to have a situation where, you get people in there, particularly also because of the kind of system that we run in Parliament. They get, a kind of induction when they come in. But usually this induction is just a 3-day kind of event. And after that, they have to learn through the ropes. And, the position where we are as a country, I think this is not the time to be playing with very important issues like who goes to Parliament and who makes decisions on behalf of all of us. And let me state, when I've been listening to the discussion for a while now, and I've heard the issue of monetization, the issue of vote buying. We can deny it anyhow we want, but this is now an open secret. As somebody said today, these are done, in broad daylight under sunshine. Things that used to be done in secret, and we hear them in whispers. Today, people are bold enough to say, I paid this, and this person also paid, but he paid more. Or we hear delegates saying, this person gave me this, and this candidate gave me this. How did we get to this point as a country? We are destroying our democracy, and what it means is that going forward and very soon, people who have very serious contributions to make in our country would need to be denied the opportunity.
But it appears that it looks like it's become normal. We've normalized it to the extent that when we ask for evidence, nobody comes up with that kind of evidence. You hear delegates say that this person paid that. The OSP in the last election put some names on wanted lists. Up until now, nobody has been punished for that. Why then won't it become the case of the highest bidder goes to Parliament?
Indeed, Erica, and that is what is quite worrying. Because you and I, maybe at one point, might want to go to Parliament, but do we have the size of the wallet that is needed to build a war chest? And then the second issue, I think I got disturbed about is the fact that the party did not protect its women candidates, women MPs.
Thank you.
The honourable, the director of elections for the NPP is sitting there. Maybe you should put that question to him. I mean, why did they sacrifice all these women and just let them out into the open and put them, without any protection? And already we are crying. We have 40 out of 275 women. Which are gone. Come elections, the rest that are left in Parliament, most of them are likely to lose. If we go by the trends from previous elections, we are not careful. We wake up in January, we are going to have less than the current 15 or so % that we have.
Okay.
Yet the IPU, the Interparliamentary Union, the CPA, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, now is on the neck. These organizations are on the necks of all parliaments around the world. By 2040, if you don't have parity, you can't come and sit at the table and make decisions.
Okay.
In the world affairs of Parliament. You can only show up and sit there as an observer. And if this trend continues where we don't protect our women, we are going to very soon be an observer when it comes to the world of politics.
Okay.
And
Dr.
I think, yes.
We'll have to leave it here for now, Dr. Rashid Rahman, and I'm sure that these are conversations that we'll have going forward, looking at the list that we've brought in. Dr. Asante also joins us on the phone. At least he's been watching this election as well, political watcher. And Evans has noted this particular issue about the women and the protection, and I'm sure Barrister Berry will also have an input on that. But Dr. Asante, this is an election that you've been watching and monitoring as well yesterday. Any particular surprises for you in terms of the names that have come up, those who won and those who lost?
Good evening, MFR.
Good evening, Doc.
I'm not surprised about the kind of event. I was expecting a thing of that nature, where we actually want some of these people to leave Parliament because the people want them out. They believe that they have outlived their usefulness. They have not been able to address their concerns for them. And
which constituency, for instance, are you referring to?
You have heard from the political system that some constituencies, they said that, this person must go. We don't need this person or that person. Take, for instance, Adjoa Safo. I was not surprised that he lost because as an MP, you represent the views, the interests of your party. And you also represent the interests and views of your constituents in Parliament. And you serve as a link between your people and government. This role, in the last 2 years or so, we did not see Madam playing this role effectively. In other words, he left his people. When the party needed her support in terms of voting, he was nowhere to be found. Only we find him on the internet dancing to tunes and TikToking and whatnot. Was very responsible on the part of Madam Amase, all right? Because then you left the constituents without any representation, and you also left the party without any support. Obviously, they are not going to put you in Parliament again. So I was surprised that you got the courage to go and then show herself that you wanted to contest. If I were I wouldn't have taken that position that well. He has the right to take that. But the good news is that the people of Domefa Benya have shown to the world that they will not countenance anything short of the service that they require from their leaders. And for me, that was very refreshing. They did exactly that. And that going forward, anybody giving the power to serve, you need to be able to dedicate yourself to the service of people as well as your party and your government. If you forget about these things, you'll be shown the exit. Others who also lost, like the Subing MP, all right, I was not surprised.
You weren't?
Yes, he was fighting a good cause.
Okay.
But you realize that the political actors, a lot were against him. It's unfortunate. So definitely, a system will be put in place to get you out. That aside, if you are taking such a duty or a tax, you need to also put your house in order. If you look at the constituency, for your people to vote against you, obviously there are a number of things that you were not able to deliver to them. And based on that, it will form part of the opinion of keeping you out.
Are you one of those who think that at least he may have been punished by the system for the course or the path that he chose?
Oh, obviously, the political actors will have a hand in that, but that is not alone. But the consequences for for you to lose, then it means that it goes more than what we are talking about. What is the situation on the ground? More often than not, people forget about constituency-specific issues, and they occupy their attention with things that are national in character. That is not to say that is wrong, but look, you want to serve the two masters at the same time. How you balance it is nobody's business.
Okay.
Your duty is to be able to play that role very well, and I think that is where the gentleman did not do well. He was fighting a good cause, and I like his bravado and all that, but he failed to put his house in order in the constituency, and obviously they will throw you out. There was always this statement by some of the political leaders within NPP that, and I just heard also from Dr. Rahman, the issue of the attrition rate in Parliament and the rest of them. I hold a contrary view. yes, anybody put in parliament will learn the ropes, and in no time he will become the best for his party or her party and the state. All right. So if all the time, yes, if we are lucky to have experienced people maintain at all times, fine. But look, nobody can decide to the constituents who they want them to represent them in parliament.
Okay.
So we'll continue to change them. And I expect, and I also trust Parliament. Parliament always have what? The socializing, serve as a socializing agency, and be able to inculcate values, give them training, and in no time, they rise up to the occasion. You recall the time of D.H. Mensah, Abraham Osedu, and all that. Where was Mr. J. Mensah? He was just a backbencher. But in no time, the gentleman learned the rules. He became a toast of many. And his work is there for the world to see. So I believe that anybody given the opportunity to be in Parliament, in no time, if he is serious, you learn the rules. But I want the changes to continue unabated. That any MP who does not perform, we should throw the person out without any, fear or favor. That is the way to go. So that once you go there, you remember that people put you there. You serve our interests. If not, you can come and then tell us any cock and bull or we'll throw you out. Then the issue of monetization and all that.
Briefly on that.
As a big problem. And there is no problem that we cannot solve. But unfortunately, for my country, we are not ready to solve this problem. The political actors are so hypocritical that they always play ostrich as if this thing doesn't happen. They hide behind, giving transport to people. They define it in all manner of terms, just to throw that into our eyes that, it doesn't happen, where is the evidence and all that. But I tell you, from where I sit, the political actors are not ready to deal with this problem. But I can tell you without fear of contradiction that if you go on this course, a time will come, look, messages will not be anything for any voter. You rather consider man, and that is where we'll lose it. But people like us will continue to speak against it because once we get there, then we don't have a democracy. You know how far we have come and how much we have sacrificed for the survival of this democracy. We will continue the advocacy and make sure that people will listen to messages, and then the one that resonates with them, they vote for those people.
Rather than taking money. Dr. Asasante, we'll have to leave it here. We're indeed grateful. But before you leave, it looks like Evans Nimako wants to put in something, reaction briefly at least. There were a lot of things that you said and that I saw him nodding and wanting to coming on, especially the issue about the system punishing Eugene Boakye entry, for instance, and the issue about monetization. Maybe briefly before he leaves. Yeah,
so Doc, good evening, and I'm happy to hear from you. I'm happy that you disagreed with Dr. Dramani, so I'm also right to disagree with you. The system mechanism the party put in place, there was no arrangement in whichever constituency to favor any particular candidate. In the case of Subin, there were 4 candidates. I'm surprised that you want to base your argument on the fact that because of a certain agenda that he was pushing, that caused.
But he also mentioned that Eugene failed to put his house in order, apart from the fact that the system also.
If you are not careful, that will become the major issue for discussion, and that's why I want.
But that's the issue on the streets, though.
I also told you that other factors also played a role.
Exactly.
Can you put your heart in your hand that was also no part of the contributing factor?
I'm saying,
but you cannot say it. But I'm saying that.
But
by and large, he was not able to put his house in order. That's why they kicked him out.
Okay, we'll continue this conversation. Good night.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asasante. There is a political science lecture, but Evans, really, that's the word on the street, at least everywhere you pass. Since Eugene lost, that's the word on the street, that because he took up such a task, reason why the system fought him. Are you saying that the system did not fight Eugene?
I don't think any system fought Honorable Eugene. I'm saying that in that constituency, there were 4 of them.
But look at the votes for the 4 others.
One other person had contested with him in the previous contest. And so I'll have difficulty appreciating that position.
Okay.
And Honorable Eugene is among the 28. Honorable Gifty in Ebuakwa North couldn't make it. You mentioned that Himan Lower Dencha Rekuprobe couldn't
Yes.
make it, and some people had booking, including you. And I'm saying that at this point, it's the New Patriotic Party's victory. I'm saying that our candidates who were able to garner some level of support should appreciate the constituency and realize that it will take all of them to work hand in hand for us to win. And so I'll plead with them to speak little, engage more, and work towards devising an arrangement that will get us there. And it will surprise you also to know that some women were also able to remove some men. In the case of Trobo constituency, Honorable Moses Enim lost to Gloria. And in Ablekuma North, Sheila lost to
another woman.
So,
yeah.
Yes, it is not exciting looking at the numbers we have. I am pro.
But couldn't we have put a system at least in place to protect the women candidates?
The Patriotic Party will not impose any candidate in any constituency. As much as possible, what we did was that a woman applying will have a certain rebate in terms of payment, and that has always been the arrangement put together by the party. But going forward, I am of the position that as a country, for us to have enough women representation in Parliament, we need to have the list system or that representation where you say this is reserved for women, so that we can have the numbers. It is, you can say it, but if you are going to put a candidate that you are not sure that the electors are going to vote for her, you will not risk it. We need numbers to ensure that government business will pass. So, yes, that is why when we put in place mechanism, we make sure that it is very transparent to all parties.
But why would we be worried that when you put the women there, people will not vote for them?
So we are not imposing you. You go through as any other candidate, except that when it comes to payment of filing fees and others, you'll be given a certain rebate. The New Patriotic Party has always done this. And all the women who went into this contest will tell you that this is the fair system the party put in place. They were all given the registers. The ballots had their representation well captured, very beautiful on the ballot. Their names were there. Delegate knew them, and all other things played out.
That's not enough, and I'm sure Barrister Berry would want to come in on this, because Women in Politics Forum definitely should be concerned about the female casualties in this particular contest, and the fact that in Parliament we don't have enough women already. We've been drumming this in. I'm sure you're concerned about this.
Yeah, I'm very much concerned. You know, for me, it's not about NPP as a political party. It's a problem that we have across Africa, and I think it's something that, you know, the people of Ghana should look, you know, into. We need a parliament that will be able to, you know, pass the affirmative action law. It's now so clear that, you know, it's not what we are going to allow the political parties to decide. There has to be a legislation. There has to be a change in constitution that will talk about affirmative action, that will talk about special seats for women. I'll just give you an example of what happened in Sierra Leone. If prior to their elections, you know, they had just about 18 women in parliament. But few months to the election, the Gender and Equal Opportunities Law was passed. And that helped women to come up. And so there was this, you know, law that says that every political party filing candidates must have a minimum of 30% representation. And so the Electoral Commission insisted that as they are bringing the list of candidates, you know, for every 3 candidates, 1 must be a woman. What did that do? It helped women in Sierra Leone to come up. After the elections, they moved from 18 to 40 women in parliament. So you see, it's a problem we have in Africa. When we celebrate Rwanda, when we talk about Senegal, South Africa, and the rest, they have laws. So we need to ensure that we have laws that will govern this. Apart from women losing their seats, I'm still saying that it's not even enough. It's not just about the women that lost their seats. There should be a certain percentage of women in every parliament, not only in Ghana. We are having the same issues in Nigeria. We presented 5 gender bills last parliament, and we lost all the bills. We are re-strategizing to see that we represent all.
We still have the affirmative action bill in Parliament.
Exactly. So I think it's something that African women will come together. It's looking as if it's bigger than, you know, a particular country. So, but if we can come together as African women and make this demand and push it up to the United Nations, because we need, you go to United Nations, there are conventions. I'm sure Ghana is a signatory, just like Nigeria. But why is it difficult for it to be domesticated? So it's something that will, look for a more positive way to push it. And then let there be laws that will guide women. I'm happy that NPP is giving some kind of concession to women, but I'm saying it's not enough. It is not a problem of the party. It's actually a problem of the system. And so we need, legislation to do that for us.
Hopefully. But I was asking you earlier about the constituencies that were put on hold and whether there's a decision, at least we've finished the elections. What then happens? Is it 3 constituencies? Is it 4? What exactly, or how many constituencies exactly were put on hold, and what's their fate going forward?
Okay, so we are going to have this contest in 104 constituencies. 3 of them went to court. Mampong, Agona West constituency went to court, and then Binduri. Binduri was supposed to be acclamation, but then it was still put on hold. Then we had Kapim South because Honorable Obiama withdrew from the contest, but then there was a petition from the regional and constituency party. No MC, regional and constituency party wrote to national headquarters. And if you look at our constitution, it says that for you to become a candidate for a constituency, you need to satisfy the constituency party, regional party, and national party. So if there's a petition from the 2, it makes sense that national party gives it a certain attention. And we are just done with it. The national chairman, general secretary, is going to receive a report from officers who went round, after which the session will be taken. We will also be waiting.
But the MC asked that he wants to be part of the election, knowing that now the MP for the area, at least Obiamwa, was not contesting again. What's the fate of that MC? Is he going to be allowed to contest? Should we start that particular race?
So the issue put up by the General Secretary's communication was that because of the petition received from the constituency and the regional party. And so it doesn't have to do with what the MC wrote. So when the National Executive Committee meets, I think the national chairman will then communicate. And we are doing this to ensure that even though we are not in a rush, the New Patriotic Party is focused in winning, but making sure that everybody is on board. That's why at this stage we are urging our candidates who were able to obtain higher numbers from the delegates to invite all those who went into the contest with them to ensure that we're able to reconcile and go into elections 2024 with a united front and beat the NDC to it.
Meanwhile, Yendi, you did not address the issue about Yendi. We've had both of them saying their winners.
We had Dr. Boakye. The report he received from his regional director is that they were not able to conclude. We are yet to receive reports from the national officer and the regional party and the constituency party. We collaborate that with what we get from the police and the EC. And that will inform the party.
What then will you say to the candidates then? Both of them are holding themselves up, saying that they've won that election, even though the EC has not officially declared.
They must all respect the protocols given by the party through the General Secretary. They must respect the party's constitution and the guidelines that were put out by the National Executive Committee.
Okay. Well, let me bring in briefly before we wrap up Sylvester T Boakye, English Yamanfro. It was such a tight race, but he definitely came out victorious. Sylvester T, thank you so much for joining us here on the probe as we wrap up. Really, definitely must have been a very tight race for you in Boakye, English Yamanfro. What worked?
Thank you very much, my dear sister. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
We can hardly hear you. I'm asking, it definitely was a tight race, but what did the trick for you?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening to our listeners. Obviously, in the US, it's a competition, and there are many, many factors that account for elections in this country. Having won election over 120 something difference is tight, but not that tight. In a contest where there are many, many forces, obviously
Well, my good work in the constituency, what I've done in the last 3 years, I would say did a trick for me. There's so much at stake, and of course, different interests. Certainly, people who voted against me will attest to the fact that in the last 3 years, what I've done in that constituency, we've had MPs in the past. My record stands tall. But there are other factors and other considerations people to come to that determination. But in a nutshell, I think I've won with over 120 votes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not to say that it was that close. It wasn't close.
Okay. Congratulations, certainly will be in order, because there were those who were saying that you would have been punished by the system for at least your delegates, I should say, not the system. Everyone doesn't want me to use the word system, but at least we know the track record. At least you didn't go with Afafranto, you stayed with the NPP, and people were hoping that you'll be punished for that. But going forward, I'm sure briefly, 30 seconds, I'm sure a message going forward to your constituents and your other contestants.
Well, what it means is that today my closest contender called to congratulate me today.
Okay.
And I shared with the vision for the party that all of us have a responsibility to come together and work for the party.
Okay.
A way to lead the party into victory. And I don't think that should be lost on her at this moment. All of us should be mindful. I've told my supporters yesterday that we must be moderate in our celebration. We have a bigger task ahead of all of us. The biggest enemy in going to an election is a divided house, and I don't think that I want to lead a party that is divided. If the contest is over, what is ahead of us is beating the NDP for the third time on the trot in that constituency to really cement our hold on that seat as a party, and that I'm prepared to do that. So I think that what is important, what we have done as a party, what I've done as a member of parliament, is a record we are taking to the next election.
Okay.
And that's what should lead all of us.
We are grateful. We are grateful for your time, Sylvester Tetede and Botiano English Yamanfro definitely won that. And the final word, 30 seconds to you, Barrister. If Iberi Fendu, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe briefly, you give us a parting word as we leave.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it's been a big experience for me. And what is left is what I'm going to do with it. And I've been in a position to call you to tell you the positive things we are taking back.
I'll be waiting for the full report. Thank you so much. She's President, Women in Politics Forum Abuja, and I'm sure that women in politics would look towards you for a lot of help in that regard. Evans Nimako, he's our friend. He's always with us. Thank you so much for joining us. He's the Director of Elections for the NPP. That's another edition of The Probe. Another one comes your way same time. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFA Apau. Many thanks for your company. Have a good evening.